Same format, so I like change date, going like September 2024. I just whoops. Oh, that's my gosh. Right?
All right, good evening, everyone. I will officially call to order the Mountain Hood Community College budget hearing. My name is Harmony Kidos. I'm the chair of the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission. So happy for all of you to join us tonight. I'm so excited for the Mountain Hood one. Boy, I watched those poll results. I'm sure, or those election results. I'm sure like all you did on TV. Just as a reminder, the TSCC is a community oversight commission established by the Oregon legislature more than 100 years ago. The commission oversees the budgets of all TSCC member taxing districts and annually conducts a thorough budget review and certification process. In addition, the TSCC, I should try this as my last year. I should try and do it without my script, everybody. In addition, the TSCC holds public budget hearings like this one to engage with district leadership and provide additional opportunity for public comment before the budget is adopted. I will now ask my fellow commissioners and the staff to introduce themselves and state if they have any business relationships that could be considered conflict of interest. We'll start with Rita.
My name is Rita Moore. This is my first year on the commission. I am a former policy analyst for the state, a former member of the Portland School Board, and I have no conflict.
Allison Lucian, this is my second year on the commission. I'm an organizational development consultant, and I have no conflicts with the college.
Good evening. My name is Todd Burton. This is also my second year, and congratulations on the bond issue. What was the spread? How many votes?
194.
194. Has it been certified now?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, in my former life, I was a finance officer for some local government jurisdictions here in the region, so I'm familiar with budget law, and I have no direct business with Mountain Hood, but I'd love to jazz some.
Cool.
I'm Melanie White, and I'm executive director with TSCC.
And I'm Brittany Albiari, and I'm the budget analyst for TSCC.
Again, I'm Harmony Kidos. This is my 7th and final year with TSCC and my last budget hearing, everyone. So I'm a little punchy, so you have to excuse me. I started my career as a middle school math and science teacher. I work in K-12 curriculum and assessment still, so Mountain Hood is certainly near and dear to my heart. I have no business relationships with the college. Would the college representatives please introduce themselves?
Well, good evening and welcome. I'm Mrs. Scari, president of Mountain Hood Community College, and I'm joined by our executive team. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Jennifer Bomer. I'm the Vice President of Advancement and Community Engagement.
Welcome. My name is Pete Seuss. I am the Dean of Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and Bachelor's Degree Programs, and I am here working on behalf of our Vice President of Instruction, who's out of the office.
Welcome.
John Hamlin, Vice President of Student Development.
Jennifer Matt, Vice President of Finance Administration.
Nice to see all of you tonight. We'd like to start by congratulating the district on the receipt of the Triple Crown Award, an honor granted for excellence in budget and financial reporting, a very difficult award to get, and we like to recognize that because it makes the budget so much easier for us to look at and read, but just the public as a whole. That transparency and clarity is so key for the community. We'll start with any introductory remarks from the college, after which we'll hear public comment. Then we'll ask our questions and discuss the budget with you. We're looking forward to a robust conversation tonight. As a reminder, we only have a short time together, so we encourage you to speak directly and openly and keep the reading of any written comments brief to allow for more back and forth discussion. I'll now turn it over to President Lisa Scari.
Well, thank you. I will say after we met a couple months ago for the bond hearing, we were excited and I was optimistic, but there was also part of me when I said, I can't wait to celebrate with you that I wasn't totally sure that we were going to be celebrating. So I'm happy today that we actually are here. It's for the institution, it really is transformative from what we're going to be able to do. 50 years is a long time, so exciting to see what this, both for the institution, but also for students. But it also happened because of a lot of years and a lot of planning and diligent work by both the college and our community and board in helping us do this. So it's truly a win for all of us, by all of us. But glad to be doing that celebration. I was hoping we would be doing
We'll start with public comment. I will now call on any members of the public who would like to speak. Each person is limited to 3 minutes of public comment, and we'll let you know when you're nearing the end of your time. Lager, do we have anyone signed up tonight to speak?
We do not have anyone signed up in advance. I will just take a quick glance to see if anyone online. We do not have anyone signed up, so we are ready to proceed.
All right, we'll go ahead and dive into our discussion, and I get the first question. MHTC is the only public college in Oregon to receive the Government Finance Officers Association's prestigious Triple Crown Award. This represents a real accomplishment, and we'd like, again, to extend our congratulations. Tell us about what's been working well, what has made you successful in getting these awards.
Well, first of all, thank you for the recognition and kind words. It was no small feat. I was looking at our plaque in my office this afternoon, and it's been 10 years since we did the first one, which was financial reporting, which is probably the biggest one to tackle. And I really have to give credit to Michelle Silbert's here, and I think Jamie's online, my financial managers. They actually, this became a project for them. When they did the budget award, they didn't tell me that they were working on it. They wanted to give me a draft and surprise me because they were like that driven to do it, but they were like, well, we didn't want to get your expectations up and then like not meet it, but we did it. But as we pronouncements just got like every year, right? There's 1 or 2 new government accounting, and it's supposed to make financial statements more transparent to somebody, but not like your general public, right? So how do we add value to all of our different financial reports and share more than just numbers, but like what we're doing? So that kind of became our path, and our final one that we did in 2022 is the popular annual financial report, and that was probably the most fun because it's like it's the shortest, but it also has like the graphs and the pictures and even less numbers. So we tackled that as a team, everybody was part of it. We also made it completely accessible, at the same time that we were doing this, we moved our website to a new website and required everything on the website to be ADA accessible, which I'm telling you from financial tables is not an easy feat. And so the team took that on, they made everything accessible so that we could have all of these there. But really, it was the staff wanting to get that award and to have really transparent financial statements that like different levels of people within our community could understand.
Much appreciated from our end, and I think it speaks to the college's desire for excellence, too.
It's the popular financial reports that tend to not get prepared, so I was wondering, would you share that with us, or I guess we just have a website?
I have copies in my office.
Oh,
I would be
yeah.
happy to grab them.
Did you get done with the budget process, the audit, and like, oh, yeah, another, yeah, so.
But that was fun. Thank you.
Congratulations getting that one done. I've done the other two, but, yeah, that's great.
So as we know, it's been a challenging time in the landscape of education, just in general, across education districts, and we noticed that this is another year of deficit spending for the college. How long do you think that this can continue, and what's your plan for next year?
So it can continue through this budget cycle. That is how long. That is it. So when we built this budget, there were some question marks when we first started the budget process. One being, the start of a new biennium, we didn't know how much state funding we were going to receive. But the other one was we had outstanding, we're still negotiating contracts with one of our largest employee groups. So not knowing where those things were going to land, we intentionally built our budget, like knowing that we were spending on reserves. We spend on reserves in the budget, making investments in our employees. Which is our, like most educational institutions, our largest expenditure is salaries. So when we agreed to those investments in salaries through those contracts, that and we had the full-time faculty the year before, so some large adjustments that we made to the budget. And then we need to sit back and be thoughtful about how we adjust our expenditures going forward. Because an across-the-board cut is not going to work, right? Like a 5% across-the-board cut or whatever is not going to solve our issue. We have been we're preparing to roll out a plan starting in fall term, based on the NACUBO Pathways to Sustainability project. So there's some industry standard ratios that we're looking at, not just financial ratios, which are really important, but also other ratios of like, graduate programs, the support staff and programs, like for the clients that they're serving. I don't want to alarm anybody, but it's a grid that's out there. And so we're starting to fill it out. And then our plan is when faculty come back in the fall, we're going to launch this process where we're going to look at, what's mission critical and what's mission adjacent. What can we afford to have? What is our minimum, not what is our goal? How do we get to, if we just could increase enrollment by 10%, we wouldn't have a budget problem, but what is our minimum threshold enrollment that we need to be at, and what does our expenditure look like there? So just making that intentional plan as we go throughout the next year, so that we can have a balanced budget. But because, through the pandemic, we were able to build up our reserves, even spending down reserves this year, we're still keeping them at a 10% level, which feels relatively comfortable. Not large reserves, but that's hard to do in our current environment.
Go ahead, Raimi.
Yeah.
This year, students will see a tuition increase. We're curious how you balance doing needed cost increases, or needed increases to cover costs without reducing enrollment. And given the current economic uncertainty and challenges, do you see any danger of pricing out some student populations with these increases?
And I'll answer that one. The college leadership in our Board of Education have had many discussions about this specific topic. It's clear we're all concerned about keeping the costs to a high quality, affordable education, while balancing our challenges associated with increased operational costs. For the past several years, we've used the Higher Education Price Index as one of those tools to support decisions related to tuition increases, and the diligent nature of our board to ensure costs remain affordable has provided us an ample opportunity to navigate these uncertain financial times. The concern for keeping MHCC affordable is also supported by the work of our student basic needs offices and our Barney's Pantry, which provide free resources to students. So recognizing we can't always reduce the tuition costs, but there are other resource needs that students have. And we've seen significant growth in both of those areas in the past couple of years. We also use that tool to identify additional needs that students may have, so things like transportation, housing, childcare, other things that are non-tuition related expenses that we can do to support for our students as well. Our board and college remain steadfast in our commitment to ensure an affordable and high quality education in East County, in which equitable access is a key pillar of that work.
Are you able to increase aid programs to balance cost increases for some students? And do you know yet what kind of impact federal policy is going to have on Pell Grants, work study, and any other financial assistance programs?
We don't know the final impact. We're still awaiting final decisions around the federal funding, but we've evaluated some of those potential impacts. And so something as simple as the Pell Grant, 51% of our students receive Pell Grant for less than half-time, and that would actually have a substantial impact on the students if they remove less than half-time Pell Grant. Fewer students would be impacted if the shift was from 12 credits to 15 credits for full-time as well. However, the overall change would be very substantial for our students as well too. We don't know what the final outcome will be for that, but I anticipate that if that is the case, we will continue to see the resources that we are providing through the pantry, additional resources through student basic needs increase as well. We've also, I think this year will likely be the year we'll eclipse $1 million in foundation giving for scholarships as well too. So we've seen a heavier reliance on that. Tuition waivers is another aspect of that as well too. So there are resources, there are limited resources, but there are resources. We're hopeful that the major changes at the federal level don't happen though, because those would be fairly detrimental to our students.
The Office of Basic Needs, what's been the kind of growth in the need? We know, did it peak in COVID, or is this just a perpetually growing.
Yeah, it's perpetually growing.
Yeah.
I'll answer a little bit more about Barney's Pantry in particular, the
Yeah.
next question as well. But it continues to grow, and I think what we've done is we've improved our ability to see what the students' needs are and the issues and challenges that they're facing. I think we didn't see it as well before, and so we see more of it and recognize tuition's one expense, but there's a whole slew of other expenses that students have that they need support with. We've had partnerships with housing complexes as well too, which started up this last year. It's been hugely beneficial for our students. Community-based resources as well too that aren't a financial obligation from the college is another key partnership as well. But the pantry growth has been substantial. We opened up the Equity and Community Resource Center this last year as well too, and the student usage in that area has been substantial.
I have just a quick question about like you mentioned about $1 million in foundation scholarships. So is that a mix of where those funds would be like pass-through funds that would be granted through the college, or is it more like Oregon Community Foundation has donor-advised funds that then students can apply to through a different entity?
That's the Mountain Community College Foundation.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So that's an endowment, and you would make $1 million roughly available for tuition from that endowment, is that the idea?
I'm gonna hand that over to Jen.
So the MHCC Foundation is the umbrella organization that holds many endowments for students, and some of them are endowed for programs, and some of them are endowed for scholarships. So it's really a mix, but our students apply for scholarships, and then we distribute them, yeah.
And you expect $1 million in the combined endowment?
The combined support we are able to give students equals $1 million, yeah, just over $1 million.
And is there any money, probably a dumb question, from the state? Do you have any insight on state funding that maybe help fill some of these gaps?
So whether it's the Oregon Opportunity Grant, Oregon Promise are two of the major state funds as well. At this point, those are in the budget to be funded for next year for the state. And we do have a significant number of students that benefit from that. And the Oregon Promise is recent high school grads, and then Oregon Opportunity is need-based as well too.
Hasn't there been discussion about limiting the number of Oregon Promise grants available?
Yeah, so I was actually on Senate Bill 81 of the advisory committee when that first passed. And the first year that it came out, we had $10 million. We knew there wasn't enough money in there to actually fund all the students. So they've modified it numerous times throughout the years and changed what they consider estimated family contributions. So there's need-based with that, but there's limitations to it. The most recent budget, I haven't looked to see how much is funded statewide in that avenue yet, but it's actually supported hundreds and hundreds of students, thousands of students here at Mount Hood as well too. So it's never enough, but it definitely helps.
So, your fiscal year 26 budget assumes a 4.5% increase in enrollment based on your outreach and retention. And last year we talked about your enrollment management plan and successes. We'd like this time to ask you about retention and whether or not, what are your current retention rates, and are there in specific degree fields, and also has retention been increasing or decreasing over time?
Absolutely. Thanks for this question. Over the past 5 years, we've seen growth in our overall retention for MHCC students. 5 years ago, it was at 70%, and that was 2021, or 2020. In 2021, right in the thick of the pandemic, dropped down to 61%. We've recovered up to 73% at this point in time. Significant amount of that work is associated with our strategic enrollment management. Stronger onboarding work, so when students are coming on board, that connection that we build with them to make sure that they're prepared for the first day of class. Work on resourcing, like I mentioned, with Barney's Pantry, student basic needs as well too, to ensure that they're supported and resourced, so that transportation, childcare, any other resources that they may need, we're working to build that connection. Also regular communication with our students as well. So we have piloted out work within our Student Services Hub to do outreach to every student before they step foot on campus, and invite them to orientations. They have a name and a face and know what offices they need to go into and to get their support. So we really, beyond the first day of class, getting to that first day of class is difficult, and then beyond that first day of class, we've done a lot of work in our advising offices and our student services hub. Once you've built that sense of belonging for the student, once you've built that relationship, and they have people that they know and they can trust, they're more likely to utilize those services and come in and support, and get support in those services. Some of our most used services, Barney's Pantry had over 20,000 students served last year. Our academic advising and student services hub, those combined efforts, which I shared, support thousands and thousands of students each month. And we're extremely proud of the improvements in enrollment and retention. And we can feel the difference that this work makes in our students' experiences as well too. The relationships, the referrals as well. We've seen students bringing other students from other institutions onto our campus and saying, hey, I worked with this person, they were super helpful, you should come here as well too. And that's the part where you don't necessarily see in the numbers, but you see that very rewarding work for our staff as well too, and you see that difference in their collective work.
Can you just remind me how many students attend MHCC a year? Context.
The really big.
18,000?
About
18,000?
18,000.
It's closer to 19 head count.
Then you had, and you had 20,000 visits. Thank you.
And are most of your degree programs 2-year degree programs? So when you say 73%, that would mean coming in the first year and staying for the second year?
So term to term.
Term to term?
Yep.
Okay. And if you were to benchmark that with peers around the country, I mean, I don't know if you do that, I mean, do you know where the...
Yeah, so I'd say in the state of Oregon, we're in the top third for retention. Nationally, I'd have to look at what the most recent data is, but it's a really good retention number. We always want to see it improve, but I don't think there's institutions that are 100% as much as we strive to be there, and we always will as well too.
One thing that was interesting when we talked to TSCC about 3 or 4 weeks ago is their student population is getting older too. A lot of people are coming back into school. Are you experiencing those sort of expanding demographic shifts in terms of the enrollees?
Yeah, so we've actually seen a shift. So it was interesting, years ago, before Oregon Promise existed, we had a higher average age. When Oregon Promise came on board, we saw a younger population coming in because there was a resource benefit from coming direct from high school. So over the past 5 years, we've actually seen a shift from 25 to 25 and a half years in age, which doesn't seem like a big number, but that is a 10% increase in that age group of 25 and older as well too. And then just this last year, it was a 15% increase. So 5 percentage points higher in that 25 and older age group as well too. And we believe a lot of that's driven economically as well. With these shifts, it definitely helps us see differences in the student needs as well too. So a 25-year-old and older has different financial needs than an 18-year-old might have as well too. What we're seeing though, we're seeing a focus on career technical education. Some of those programs in healthcare, business, and cybersecurity are popular ones with the 25 and older crowd as well too. But nothing that stands out as, it's fairly well distributed throughout the programs, but it is more focused on career technical education.
Can I ask what the popular programs were that you already...
Yeah, good transition.
So congratulations again on passing the bond. And so now that you, the $136.4 million in bond funds is approved and budgeted, we're sure that you're eager to start on projects. And we'd like to take a moment to reflect on your success. However, after a history of not being able to pass the bond, what was different this time? What do you think moved the needle with voters as far as your efforts?
I'll start, I think there were 3 kind of key things, and then there was a lot that fell under it. But I think one of the first things is when we started down this road is we started asking around who are the people, the consultants that do this that have been successful in our community. And that led us to Light Communications, who worked with the college and then also with the PAC. And having that understanding and the success rate, I think, was critical as far as helping us understand what to do when and scaffold, and also around the messaging. We had originally planned a November ballot measure, and so that outreach started in early 2024, and gained information and realized that in July, that we needed more time based on what we were seeing from the polling, and so that allowed us to spend the next 9 months working, but again, it was that expert council, I think, that gave us a clear path. So the second thing I would say would be community involvement. Some of the feedback we've heard from prior attempts was the extent to the community being involved, and so at the very beginning this time, we had a bond development work group that was made up of a few internal folks, but it was primarily community members, and they basically looked at all the projects and built our bond and told us what they thought would be most successful. Those are also individuals who continue to work with us on the PAC or just in the community as the campaign carried out, and so I think that engagement was also a key difference this time. And then lastly, I would just say the outreach, both the in-person outreach and the marketing outreach. We have board members who tirelessly went out since April of 2024 to community presentations, to events, just being there and talking about the bond. We had employees that volunteered and also did the same thing. That was nicely coupled by a really strong communication campaign that talked about what the bond would do, which led really nicely into then when the PAC kicked off the actual campaigning. It was an add-on, it wasn't the only thing. And so I think those three things, the council, the outreach, and involving the community, was what made the difference this time.
I have the next one. My neighbor works for the college out in Portland. She commutes out here with the international students, and she and I had daily conversations about things. She's like, "You have friends in Sandy, let me get you yard signs." So I thought personally just the level of investment in the community and in your community to just really succeed. Switching gears a little bit, the fiscal year 2026 budget includes continued funding for the Bachelor of Applied Science and Cybersecurity program. Can you provide an update on the program's enrollment, outcomes so far, and how next year will expand or build on existing offerings?
I've got that one. And thanks for the question. So I guess enrollment numbers, when the program was developed, they based everything off of an inaugural class of 15 students. And as of winter 2025, there were 29 students who are currently enrolled in the first year, which I guess is technically the third year of the program. So we had an equivalent of 19.4 FTE in the program. So it was a little above budget. We were happy with the enrollment. Most of the students who are enrolled in the program are enrolled full-time. And I checked our enrollment numbers in the issues in cybersecurity class, which is the introductory class to the bachelor's degree portion of the program. And so for fall next year, we have 9 students currently enrolled. So still pretty early. We're anticipating we'll have somewhere in the same realm of students. Advertising's going out, word of mouth is going good, and we have had some good successes, which I'll talk about too, which I think are positive for us. In terms of outcomes, last year we hired 1 full-time cybersecurity faculty member, and they taught this full year, participated in a lot of the curriculum development. I started supervising the Computer Information Systems Division in January of this year after a reorganization, and so still getting it all figured out as we get that sorted out. But we have a really great team, the cybersecurity programs in that area. And so we delivered all of the year 3 courses for the first time. In this academic year, we will be building and creating the year 4 classes to deliver next year. And in the 300 level information systems and technology management classes that we offered this year, we had an overall pass rate of 86%. Thank you. That was good news.
You better have.
That was 86%, which was, yeah, exactly. I think that was groove was right on. So as far as building on offerings for next academic year, we've made an employment offer to a second cybersecurity faculty member, so we'll have 2 full-timers in that department hoping to start in fall. We've secured budget funds to pay for course development. There are 10 classes left that need to be delivered across the rest of the academic year next year that are brand new, and so we started development and work on the ones that will be offered in the fall, so they'll be good to go, and we'll be a quarter ahead essentially on the course development. Let's see, we expect to have our first graduates in 2026, and just as a side note, if I may, last week I got a letter from the commissioner of the National Cyber League, which is a nationwide virtual learning-centered cybersecurity competition, which Mount Hood students participated in this year. So there were, Jeff Spurley, one of our faculty members, was our coach at this tournament, and there were 9,216 students from 510 colleges and universities across the country, and Mount Hood finished number 69 nationally out of that group. So I thought that was pretty solid for our first offering as a bachelor's degree granting institution. So congrats to the students and Coach Spurley. I thought that was pretty awesome. So this was a great opportunity to share too, so pretty cool.
Do you like bring in guest speakers in these classes, like these security experts?
Yeah, so I was,
Hackers, they show up?
so we had, I sat in on a presentation where we had someone who works for the Oregon Highway Patrol, but is stationed at the FBI office here in Portland, and then another woman who worked for the state of Oregon doing cybersecurity defense as well. So our instructor, Eddie Villarreal, has a really great network. He was an industry professional for about 27 years. He's a veteran, Army veteran, worked in intelligence, did all kinds of cool things. So he's got this vast network of folks that he's able to bring in, and I think that's one of the real assets and high points of the program for sure.
And I have a logistical problem, right? Like, kids don't always know what they want to do when they get to college, right? Some do, and some change their mind. In enrollment, you see the same kind of thing, kids entering at the beginning and then
I'm still learning our student body for sure, but this program is sort of interesting as the only BAS in cyber in the state. So they did do some work to try and set it up as a statewide model. So we have students who went to Columbus Community College who are enrolled virtually in the program. We have veterans. We have some younger folks who are marched their way from the associate degree program into it. I don't know, out of those 30 students, I'm not sure we have a real clear picture of the enrollment. I think, John, you indicated the enrollment's a little higher in that program than some of the others, which would make sense because it's a junior, senior, right, as opposed to everybody being a freshman. So that's my best guess at this point.
Last year we talked about the potential for other four-year programs the college might offer: public safety, applied tech, science-based, forestry, natural resources. In the past year, have you explored any of these options any further? And what's the status of pursuing other four-year programs?
I've got this one too. So President Scari's indicated her desire to increase the number of applied baccalaureates at Mount Hood. In that reorganization that happened in January, the Vice President of Instruction asked me to take over management of current and future BAS programs, including the cyber. And so we're working on revising some things with my program or position description to get that happening. So we're creating a designated point to sort of focus on that work, which is one step. I'm, familiarizing myself with the state processes, our accreditation processes, and we're going to be working this summer kind of in earnest to have sort of a framework in hand so that folks who have ideas can come and plug into something that's more, based off of what we did for cyber, which the dean who put that together is no longer with the college. So kind of going back through the historical documents and then trying to decide how we want to build off of those to have more of a formulaic process for faculty and community members probably too, who want to come to us and say, hey, we need this educational need met in the community. And so since January, we've had some preliminary discussions with several departments to explore possible offerings. Nothing concrete has happened. Those departments, well, something concrete has happened. The main departments that I've talked with so far are health and physical education, fisheries, natural resources, technology. We're trying to see if there's some sort of amalgamation of those things, like a bachelor's for people who work outside kind of a thing. Like where we were trying to find the general, like, are there any core concepts that could benefit all of those things? And we kind of came away going, maybe, and then we sent the faculty off to meet with their advisory committees in natural resources and fisheries, because they have advisory boards that support those programs. And those meetings all happened like in the last 2 weeks of the school year. So I anticipate they'll be coming back with information on in the fall about what if there's going to be anything. I've also had conversations with our Dean of Health Professions. The physical therapy assistant, respiratory care, and dental hygiene programs are all interested in potentially applying a bachelor for a BAS program. And one of the cool things that they spent the spring term doing is aligning all of their pre-program professional requirements. So all three of those programs now have the same pre-professional requirements to get into them. So that sort of helps streamline, and they did that in anticipation of applying for BAS programs. And then we're also looking at a potential for an advanced industrial mechanic bachelor's of applied science degree, because we think that will be a pretty key service or key educational component of our semiconductor workforce in East County. So, and that's what our partners in semiconductors have told us. So, I'm also preparing to do a service or a info session at our in-service on BAS programs for people who are interested to know, to come to me, and so we'll start working on it. So that was a long answer to say, yeah, we're in. Yeah, we're into it.
Question about the applied health ones, things like, dental hygienist, or the advantage of a bachelor's program is higher pay entering the field, more competitive. Is that essentially what it is? Or, to me, it's like, hygienist job, like you're qualified to be a hygienist, right? And they have to pass boards and all of that, I know. But I'm curious, kind of what is the advantage of the bachelor's program?
I think, I'm speaking a little extemporaneously, sure, but I worked in healthcare education for a while, and I think with those certificate or associate degree level healthcare programs, they're almost like a terminal degree, right? And so, like, if you're working for Kaiser and you're in a large health system and you want to move into a management role, like, oftentimes a bachelor's degree is going to be required. And so, or if you wanted to get a master's in public health, or, go to physical therapy school, something like that. So I think it's kind of that bridging thing. And I think also, I actually have an applied baccalaureate degree myself. And so it was a very nice way to take kind of some disparate information and put it into a single package that was a bachelor's degree that had value in the educational progression, like when I wanted to get a master's degree, and then also being able to, potentially open doors to positions of leadership, management, etc.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you get or do you anticipate any pushback from the four-year colleges in Oregon?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. I think, in some ways, I feel like the Higher Education Coordinating Commission is supposed to referee those arguments to the best of their ability. And our job is to be strong, convincing advocates for our position against our university partners who often have outside say in those kinds of matters. But the cybersecurity one, you would think would have been a field that would have been a tough nut to crack, and we were able to do that on the first try. So I think we'll have to be strategic. We'll have to put forward programs that aren't in direct competition with our local university partners, and that there's a clear benefit to students in terms of wages and advancement opportunities. And we'll have to do a really good job of demonstrating that, like, if you get this degree, you're gonna make more than if you just have this one. Like, there's value. And it's particularly in those CTE programs that we're building advancement on, like those, like, you know, University of Oregon doesn't have a dental hygiene program, right? And so, like, they're not gonna compete with that. And so on the margins of like, oh, well, there we are bachelors in, you know, healthcare management or something like that, maybe, but I think we have a pretty strong component. So we'll fight the fights when we have to, but hopefully we'll pick winners that won't be super controversial, unless that's what the community needs, and then we'll, you know, go up to bat for the community, because that's what we're here to do. Thanks.
At our budget hearing with the East Multnomah Soil and Conservation District earlier in the spring, we heard about the dam removal project for your campus. And I think I drove near it in my quest to find out. What will be the college's role with the project? Do you have any plans to contribute any funding? And if so, how will you fund the project work?
So, I will take that one. And our role, because the finance person's taking it, so it's gonna have a little spin on our plans to contribute. I'm sure you're anticipating this. Our role has been really informal, and we've actually had a relationship with them for over 10 years. You probably didn't drive by the actual dam because it's a pedestrian walkway sort of in the middle, but you'll see the lake when you drive up 257, and that's actually a culvert there. So the dam's on the far side of that, but all of the...
I drove through a lot of places.
I hope you didn't drive over the dam.
I almost did.
So we've been working with this team to do a lot of the bounce wells in our parking lot. So and almost anywhere you park, we've almost got all of our really close to our parking lots have all been updated. And so now we've been talking about the dam project for a long time. It's fun too. It's completely funded by grants and these other agencies, so Metro, City of Gresham, and the East Multnomah County Soil and Water Conservation District. Like, all of those groups have put in money. We have supported them in grant writing. We've written them as a group of government agencies, so not one person. We have some grants where we've been a fiscal agent for. And because this is publicly owned property, they're all public works projects. So we also get to do all of the bidding, the invoice administration, prevailing wage documents, so all of that we handle for the project as well. It's exciting. We've been talking about it for a lot of years. Some people, we had one of our leadership team that hasn't been here a long time, didn't know we had a dam. But everybody knows we have a pond, a lake, whatever, but yeah, it's the dam that makes
as the habitation restoration work continues, do we anticipate being able to use some of that work in curriculum or in student work opportunities or some other kind of?
So we had our integrated natural resources and fisheries faculty met with this whole big group in early May, and they are very enthusiastic about the dam removal project, more than they have been about the bioswales and some of the other smaller things. And so they are planning on integrating it into the curriculum as we move into the next academic year.
So one of the themes we've heard through all of our hearings, or a number of them, and some of the public testimony we've heard, is around how are these agencies that you're talking to coordinating with each other? Because sometimes there seems to be a lot of overlap, and we're going to talk kind of in our off-season how we can maybe have a stronger role in that. But we're curious to know if you have partnerships with other agencies and what those are, and anything you might be wanting to share about partnerships that you have.
Well, I'll answer that one. I think a grounding statement to make in answer to that is just to remember the mission of the community college, which is really to link up with community at all levels to solve local problems. And give people the opportunity to succeed through education. So there's many, many examples to answer that question, but one that I'll highlight is our partnerships around taking care of some of the youngest members of our district. I don't know if y'all had happened to catch the Oregonian article that came out on Monday, but it actually flagged Gresham as having the highest percentage of toddlers in the United States. This is a fun statistic for you. I know, isn't that strange? I hear that. No, it is very true. 45.5% of all people under the age of 18 in Gresham are under the age of 5. And Gresham has experienced an almost 60% increase in toddlers in the last 10 years.
COVID was
Amazing. I mean, yeah, think about the correlation, so that might be a population that you don't automatically think of when you think about a college and college age students, but we partner with Multnomah County and the Preschool for All efforts to connect people through our child care resource and referral service. We served in the last year 80 programs through child care resource and referral, and we educated 469 folks who are providing care for young children, and that was through that partnership with Preschool for All. And in addition, and we talked about the foundation earlier, Preschool for All also gave us a grant for our future child care educators. So we were able to receive a very large grant from Preschool for All, over $100,000, which is really big for our foundation, and provide scholarships to early childhood educator students who are studying to join that field. So that's just kind of an example of linking up to solve a community problem. And the other thing I want to highlight is Dr. Scari talked about what the difference was in passing this historic bond. And when we talk about other local partnerships, I just have to come back to the bond, because that point about partnering with other local governments to recognize that having accessible higher education in our district benefits everyone is really essential. And our board and our leadership team participated in more than 90 conversations with groups all throughout the community, but many of those were our local government partners, to lend credence to the effort and to adopt the vision as this is $136 million that could potentially come to Mount Hood Community College, but what that means is that we can be assured that we've got a campus that can serve our residents, in the future, and this is something that benefits everybody. So just in a big goal like that, that's also where our partnerships come into play, is we got to do this stuff together. So.
All right, well, that will close our discussion tonight. I just want to say thank you again for joining us, for being so transparent, for being so thoughtful in your response, so much candor. It's important for us, just representatives of the community, to have these discussions, and this is always my favorite place to end our season. It is always the way we end our budget season, with some hope and optimism, which I just appreciate in a difficult budget cycle for everyone. I think you all just embody a sense of where we're headed and where we hope to go. So we have some business to do. So I'll close the hearing and open a regular business meeting of the TSCC. Commissioners, do you have any additional comments on the budget? Okay. Allegra, would you please share the staff recommendation for the certification letter?
Yes, and first I would like to say thank you to the MHCC staff for their partnership throughout the budget process and throughout the year. I just want to publicly say thank you so much for your professionalism, quick responses to our questions, and just working with us on all of these budget items that we go through. For fiscal year 26, 25-26 approved budget process. We have no objections and one recommendation. On review of the MHCC fiscal year 23-24 audit, TSCC did see that the district had expenditures that exceed appropriation limits in the federal, state, and special project funds. Because we did notice that over expenditures are a reoccurring challenge. There's been 3 in the last 5 years. We are issuing a recommendation. MHCC staff has been extremely responsive to our inquiries around this, and we're able to explain exactly what happened and have a comprehensive approach to prevent future occurrences. So we encourage the district to implement these enhanced policies that they've outlined to mitigate the issues going forward. We as staff found the budget estimates to be reasonable for the purposes stated and in compliance with budget law.
Great. It's a very common recommendation we make as agencies. We were not the only one even this year. May I have a motion authorizing the commission to sign the certification letter as recommended with the one recommendation? Motion. Thank you. Second. Thank you, Rita. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The Mount Hood budget is so certified by TSCC. Allegro follows up very shortly with a signed certification letter, so you can package everything for budget adoption. And that will adjourn our meeting. Thank you again, everyone, for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.